Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, football fans of all ages. This is Tim May along with
Bill Rabinowitz, and welcome to our very first video cast. We're trying this grand experiment from our respective homes, and we'll see how it goes.
I'm sort of nervous, Bill. I don't know about you.
I don't know what to say about that.
Let's just jump right into it, Bill. It's a bye week, so the people are probably looking forward to when we say bye here in a few minutes. So we'll get right into it. Ohio State's coming off a dominating 66-0 victory over Kent State. As I said a week ago, I learn as much about a team in a game like this as I do in a close game, meaning when you're favored big time and you go out and you take care of business the way Ohio State did. I think that says a lot about your team, a lot about your team being focused going into the game and then through the game maintaining that focus. I mean, that 0 said as much as a 66.
Yeah, it was important for Ohio State to do exactly what they did. If they had let Kent State hang around, get some confidence, could have shaken Ohio State's confidence after what happened against Virginia Tech. They did what good teams are supposed to do, which is just stomp on an inferior opponent. Obviously, J.T. Barrett with 6 touchdown passes looked good. The offense looked good. They got a lot of people involved. As you just said, the defense, you put up a goose egg, and it's hard to criticize a whole lot.
Yeah, as Raekwon McMillan even said after the game, the eloquent freshman, if you do that, then all you have to do is score one time with your team and you win, and that's called elementary. But I could tell a great anecdote about that, about a Michigan game in the past when Ohio State was shut out, but I would be digressing, and I definitely want to do that in our first ever TV podcast. But in past J.T. Barrett, Michael Thomas once again takes a couple of balls to the house. Curtis Samuel, freshman running back, gets his first 100-yard college game, gaining his 100th yard and getting his second touchdown on the same play before he was removed from that game. And then on defense, like I just pointed out, Raekwon McMillan was the leading tackler, but he came in and played after Curtis Grant, the starter, did at middle linebacker. But they rolled quite a few freshmen into the fray, especially on defense.
And that's what they wanted to do. Ohio State's schedule kind of set up strangely. I mean, in an ideal situation, they probably would have preferred to play Kent State first, kind of get their feet wet. Playing Navy first, it kind of caused them to get out of sync defensively because they had to prepare for that triple option. I think it affected them against Virginia Tech. So this was kind of a reset game. They were playing a much more traditional opponent in terms of scheme. Obviously, they were overmatched in terms of talent, Kent State. So this was a good way to get their confidence going into the bye week. And obviously, next week when they play Cincinnati, that's going to be a whole different animal.
Yeah, when you play a team whose quarterback's first name is Gunner, you got to expect to play a lot of pass defense. And Gunner Kiel, we all know his story. He started out in Columbus, Indiana, went to Notre Dame, transferred to Cincinnati. Boy, Colson must be really good. That's all I got to say because I think Gunner Kiel looks really good. He looks like a true pocket, standing there, tough quarterback. We'll get into that next week, of course. During this bye week, I mean, a lot of things going on. Number one, Ohio State learned last Thursday for sure that Big Ten first-team defensive end Noah Spence back. He was supposed to come back off of a 3-game suspension last week. It didn't happen. He flunked another drug test, a second drug test. Whether he'll ever play another college game remains to be seen. By letter of the law, letter of the Big Ten rule book, he will not play again. But then again, he was supposed to have been out all season this year after flunking that drug test for ecstasy last year, which the Big Ten and the NCAA consider a stimulant and a PED. He appealed and got it reduced to a 3-game suspension. They're going to appeal again. We'll see where it goes, but I think it would be a big bonus if they get him back. With that said, Steve Miller has stepped in, played pretty well for him, in my opinion, in his absence. Rashad Frazier's come on, and last week, one of those freshmen I was talking about, Jalen Holmes, he impressed me, man, the way he ran around the field and was chasing the quarterback.
Yeah, the good thing about Ohio State's, if this was going to happen at any position, the defensive line is the position to have it happen too, because they do have a lot of depth. Probably more so, I would guess, at tackle than end, but they can still. They have some depth there, and Adolphus Washington, if they needed to, could probably move outside certain situations. And he's been, I think Adolphus Washington's played very, very well this year. And obviously, Michael Bennett and Joey Bosa are star players. So you have 3 really, really good players. If you'd been able to add Spence, they really could have been among the best units in the country. They're still going to be very good. Steve Miller's been here a long time. It's time for him to kind of step up and take advantage of this opportunity. Rashad Frazier, as you mentioned, was a star of the spring game and has some ability. So it's not like the linebacker situation of a few years ago when they had to move a Zach Warren to middle linebacker from fullback.
Right.
They've got enough guys on the defensive line that they can get by.
Yeah, and what stood out to me is for the second straight game, Von Bell started at safety, and I thought he played very well. I thought Tyvis Powell played extremely well. He had that little toe tap interception off a deflected pass in the game, and round down the line, they ran a lot of new guys in there in the secondary. Who Eric Smith saw some extended time. Damon Webb, the highly prized cornerback out of Detroit, saw some extended time for the first time. I think they feel really good about the depth. They were at least able to gain some experience in that game. And then back on offense, what stood out to me about J.T. Barrett, as long as he's had time to throw and had guys willing to catch it, he's been a pretty accurate passing quarterback. I thought he threw with a lot more gusto on Saturday than he had the 2 weeks before, meaning I thought he was a lot more sure of just letting the ball go, and it paid dividends. I mean, he was named the Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week, and for the second time in 3 weeks, named the Big Ten Freshman of the Week. So it looks like the bright side is huge for him. And with that said, I think people are starting to get used to. There's a different guy at quarterback now for Ohio State than Braxton Miller. I think people are starting to get used to what he's all about, which is, if you watch the game, distributor.
Right. What's kind of interesting is that normally you'd think about losing a Braxton Miller and having a redshirt freshman who hasn't played in almost 2 years. He'd be kind of dominating the conversation. He's not. I mean, J.T. Barrett is settled in. I don't think people have a lot of concern about, is he overmatched? No, he's clearly not overmatched. Is he going to have bumps in the road? Sure, because he's a redshirt freshman and he's not Braxton Miller. He's inexperienced. But it's amazing to me how quickly he's kind of settled in, and he's almost not an issue anymore. It's just, okay, J.T. Barrett's the quarterback, and if the guys around him who really will make or break him. And the offensive line, that was the big question going into this year. I still think there are a lot of questions about that. Urban Meyer said on his Big Ten conference call yesterday, he's still kind of looking around to see who the best 5 guys are. They lost some depth. Obviously, Chad Lindsey, the transfer from Alabama, hurt his shoulder in training camp, and he's gone now. Evan Lyle, a guy that could have been in the mix, he's not playing. So
injured.
It's going to be interesting to see whether they make some changes on the offensive line, but that still, to me, is the biggest question on the team.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, Kent State really didn't check. Kent State tried to jump into that bear look and do some damage like Virginia Tech had done, and let's face it, they weren't Virginia Tech. They were in it the first 2 series against Ohio State, had no success as Ohio State drove clickety-clack right on down the track and jumped back into their regular defense, which wasn't any more successful. Maybe they needed, the giraffe defense instead of the bear. I don't know. Maybe that would have helped them. But anyway, down the line, I mean, Ohio State's going to face definitely better defenses probably on Saturday. And I say that probably. I mean, I was impressed greatly with the way Cincinnati played against Toledo on offense, and I also saw Toledo have a great last 3 quarters or last 2 quarters against Cincinnati's defense. So that game is going to be a very interesting one on both sides of the ball for Ohio State.
Yeah, it was 34-0 Cincinnati, and you thought, oh my God. I mean, Meyer said on the conference call, I thought it was going to be 60, and Kiel was going to throw for 500 yards, and they had almost got 60. They got 58, but their defense really did kind of struggle. And so I think this is a game. I mean, you talk about a shootout at the shoe. This is going to be a shootout at the shoe. I think Ohio State's defense is clearly better than Cincinnati's. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But the question is, can Ohio State's offense generate enough offense and avoid the mistakes that can end possessions?
We have a Game Day Plus section coming out because we never stop writing, even though the team stops playing sometimes. But with that said, my spotlight players this week, guys who to keep an eye on, let's say, coming out of the first 3 games and going into the next section of this schedule, which is 2 games and another bye. I picked out Jalen Marshall, the redshirt freshman from Middletown who got his first touchdown, but had a couple of really fairly spectacular plays in that game the other day. One was a return, and then on defense, keep an eye on Steve Miller, but also it's Steve Miller and Associates because clearly they're going to play a bunch of guys in place of Noah Spence and try to fill in the gaps there. And then, of course, on special teams, a guy who hasn't had the start he wanted is Cameron Johnston, the punter, with a couple of shanks in 2 straight games. I mean, that's not what he's looking for, and he showed his disgust coming off the field last week when he had that one shank. He threw his helmet into the netting, his practice netting, but otherwise he's actually been punting the ball pretty well. That's sort of nitpicking a little bit, but that's what I'm looking at. And, of course, I have a little feature on Urban Meyer on our cover. And what do you have coming, Bill?
Well, just a recruiting story, and I've got a Q&A with Jacoby Boren, the 3rd Boren to play for Ohio State, and some interesting stuff about his family business and how he stays busy during the winter sometimes, and he's a great student. I got 3.8, 3.9 students, so look for that.
You mean, I think his family business, their motto is let it snow, let it snow, let it snow?
Pretty much, yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Landscaping
Actually,
and snow removal, yeah.
I think it's let it snow so you can get the big contracts and then don't snow anymore.
Yeah, I think if there's a love-hate relationship with the snow, it's good for good for the money, but not exactly fun when you're up all night.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy. And then on top of it, you and I are going to have a little back and forth on where this team is, where it's going, which I always find interesting to read because anytime I can get inside your brain, it's an interesting tour.
And how do you think I feel?
Yeah, lost. Where's the flashlight? But anyway, we'll be back next week. Hopefully, this new technology works out for us, and people will enjoy it. You need feedback on these kind of things, right. So give us some feedback, ladies and gentlemen. You can email me or Bill Rabinowitz at thedispatch.com. But Bill, and until next week when we're sizing up what went on in the bye week and what Ohio State faces against Cincinnati, this is Tim May.
And Bill Rabinowitz, thanks for watching.